Friends, hello. We've got more news, and some of it is positive. There are more statements from Trump and also statements to Zelensky. So, not just relying on previous data, now they're adding more news. Let's go through them as well. There are positive ones. Well, and there are those that need to be discussed. For example, the Russians are ready to give up the nuclear power plant. So, it seems like bingo, great, awesome negotiations. There's a catch, not to Ukraine, to give it to the states. Some say it's for management, while others say it's for ownership. And supposedly, there's a statement from Trump saying there's nothing better than, or from the White House, there's nothing better than American ownership of Ukrainian nuclear power plants. Well, at the very least, we're preparing for American tariffs. It's not a fact that we'll have the American standard of living, but American tariffs will definitely be ensured. Well, at least something. We will definitely get something American from our allies. There are openly negative things. Russia continues to shell Ukraine, 5 hits on Sloviansk, 3 explosions in the area of Elma service. We have 4 more shellings, as some media report, on Zaporizhzhia facilities. At the same time, Zelensky agreed not to strike the energy sector of the Russian Federation and supported Trump's proposal, which he actually made regarding these actions. And Meloni started talking about Article 5 for Ukraine. Let's now take additional information as well, analyze everything. Because it's important. Because soon there will be a new meeting in Jeddah, not in Sidza, in Jeddah. And, in fact, negotiations are expected to continue there. Russia is angry. Russia continues to show its true nature by shelling Ukraine. Ukraine, on the contrary, shows that it is willing to negotiate. And Trump says, I've changed my priorities because I don't need your minerals anymore. Or rather, I do need them, but not right now. Let's talk about nuclear power now, says Donald Trump. Well, let's do it. I know that the president's office, earlier, while preparing the minerals, was simultaneously preparing the transfer of nuclear power plants to the states as a kind of security guarantee. Well, but now they've started talking about Russian nuclear power, and here we need to understand, again, from insiders, whether they are transferring ownership to the states, buying it, or if they are holding it for us and managing it. Will there be this intermediary between the occupied territories that will siphon off billions and then invest in Ukrainian politics? So that various figures like Biko and Medvedchuk will have money to buy channels, which will then be used to create anti-Ukrainian parties, for which they will later campaign. For the Russian world and the Russian language here. Do you understand? By the way, Boyko, the press is now writing, was caught by Hunter's investment fund. That Hunter. Well, maybe it's in honor of Hunter Biden's son. And Boyko invested millions, hundreds of millions, both before the war and during the war. He was sitting in Nice, or somewhere there, in Monaco, voting remotely. Here, so that no one would be imprisoned. But he was earning hundreds of millions, thousands of square kilometers with local capital developers. Well, actually, not everything can be Boyko. You know, Boyko is a representative of Putin here, so maybe he was earning for the Russians. Let's not shout either. Yuri Anatolyevich, give the money to the army. While Ukrainians were creating funds to help the army, Boyko was creating funds to help the army. But for the Russians, at the very least, if for himself, he stuffed his pockets with hundreds of millions. By the way, you can come and ask, as a deputy, how much he stuffed, didn't declare anything. Maybe he will want to give everything to the state. It's worth going and seeing, talking with him. We have entire anti-corruption bodies that can ask questions. But now it's not a breakthrough, it's a small pawn in these negotiations, although anti-corruption agencies should pay attention to this. Attention! Actually, let's analyze everything. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. I will quickly break everything down for you. Besides subscribing, which is extremely important, because if you want to have the latest information, prompt analysis from the negotiations, and right now, unfortunately, this is the most important issue. The most important issue is the survival of the state. So, subscribe. If you're not registered, create an email and subscribe. If you are registered, do it now. Please, it's important for Ukrainian YouTube to be Ukrainian, and not, have Russians wandering around, talking heads and pushing their narratives on us here. The second thing I kindly ask of you, donate. Just a little bit. It was 1,163,000 when I checked before recording this video. We're short 9 bombers. The 10th will be a night vision device. You pay, and in the morning I buy, and send it. Please get involved. It's an extremely important matter, and at least 3 days. We are not getting involved in anything, not getting into any stories, although we already have a small queue, and there is a big queue, but from what is urgent, there are still 2 collections. But, as I promised, at least 3 days of pause. At least. Yes, let's start, because there's a lot of information. Ukraine and the USA will meet in the Middle East to agree on the details of a ceasefire. This was stated by Volodymyr Zelensky. And now the president of Ukraine, who most likely is still currently in Finland, where they met with our partners. Oleksandr Stubb and his wife welcomed our president and the first lady. And it was a very nice, friendly reception. Well, again, the Finns understand us. They have been in our shoes twice. They understand all of this, they see all of this, and they help us. Really, those guys who can make weapons. By the way, regarding the weapons manufacturers, I'll say a couple more words about the Euro Summit now, but you should understand that right now in Europe, they are dividing. Those who can produce weapons are getting orders, and those who can't, we won't wait for you to build a factory. No. This is Macron's position. We produce in Europe, we don't order from the States, but those who can make them. Ukraine, Belgium, Germany, France. Finns. We make it here. Chatterboxes like Orban, completely off the table. Russian agents. The rest who want to take money to build a factory and in 10 years produce 1,000 shells, friends, sorry, we're in a hurry. So we order from those who can make them. This is the kind of insight European diplomats shared with me. So, what does Zelensky say? We have tasked, actually, the reason I mentioned this story is that when Ukrainians meet with Finns, they are major weapons manufacturers. These are the ones who can trim Russia's horns along its perimeter. That's why we were welcomed warmly, well, in general, by our friends. Our friends, these are the best enemies of our enemies, our best friends. Finns, Japanese, British, Baltic countries. Super friends, as it turns out, super friends. Georgia needs to be returned because they are trying to occupy and divide it. We have tasked our teams with resolving technical issues related to the implementation and expansion of the partial ceasefire. Ukrainian and American groups are ready to meet in Saudi Arabia in the coming days to continue coordinating steps towards peace. The Americans will lead 2 tracks with us and with the Russians, it's clear that. But it's worth understanding that not all information has been provided to us. We don't know the real tone of the conversation. There was a post from J. Devan's second account, which is verified. It's clear that they wrote what they think for their audience. Again, this is for their audience, for the magic, for those who are Trump fanatics. But the press received neutral or super positive messages from Trump. Again, we don't believe in super positive messages from Trump. But we see that there is a part that is constructive, a part that needs to be discussed now. From the positive constructive side, Trump promised to provide Ukraine with Patriot systems. This is positive constructive because the Patriot is a system that protects all Ukrainians. That's great. Cooperating Ukraine in the search for new systems. Patriot, for the defense of the Ukrainian sky. As reported by the White House during a phone conversation, the leaders agreed that Ukraine and America will continue to work together to achieve a real end to the war, and under Trump's leadership, lasting peace can be achieved. Then it turned into Trump propaganda. President Trump agreed to cooperate with Ukraine to find what is available, particularly in Europe. In Europe, then in Europe. But if you go to the Middle East, for example, to Dubai, or not Dubai, to the United Arab Emirates, or to Saudi Arabia, then, for example, at the auto bases, you can see a lot of systems there. Patriot. Quite a lot. Well, maybe if we go there, let's maybe bring something back. A few installations, better systems, as installations are not enough. Moving on. What is there from? Positive. That Trump rejected one of Putin's demands for a ceasefire, as they say. Trump's press secretaries. Ms. Leavitt came out and said the exchange of intelligence information from the perspective of Ukraine's defense will continue. The day before, the Kremlin, demanded that Donald, stop providing intelligence, stop providing weapons. Most likely, if Leavitt boasts that intelligence will be shared, then most likely. Trump, kind of like a peacemaker, will provide intelligence, but not weapons. That's my feeling. None of them want to write about it, neither Zelensky's team nor Trump's team, but that's what was left behind the cameras. Look what she says. The exchange of intelligence information from the perspective of Ukraine's defense continues, but only under one condition. So, the second condition was not supported. And that's what I said about the Patriot. Trump says, I will constructively facilitate, help, and search. I didn't say it's positively constructive. He will be searching. So, does Trump have systems? Patriot? Bury yourself in it. But I will help search in Europe. You see, this is a very important story. So, Putin said he won't give weapons, but he tells Zelensky in negotiations that he will. But again, the positive news is that, yes, Trump said he will provide intelligence. Let's spread this through Ukrainian and Western media. But there is another side to the details. Not that I'm pessimistically trying to find fault, but I am reading the realistic situation. So, it's not a fact that Trump will give us weapons right now. Then we need to look for them in Europe. We need to look for them in the world. By the way, Scholz approved an additional $3 billion for Ukraine this year regarding Europe and the world. I'm more than certain that this amount will increase. I'm not fixating on it because it will definitely be larger. But it's not enough, obviously. The EU summit declared the continuation of military support for Ukraine despite Putin's ultimatums. It's clear that the EU summit is still a lot of talk with little action, but the main message remains that, as a result of the European Council meeting 2021, March will see a statement from the European Union about its intention to continue military support for Ukraine, despite the demands made by dictator Putin. The fact that EU leaders are declaring their intention to continue military support for Ukraine is particularly significant right now. This is not just a repetition of previous statements, say top EU diplomats. I agree. Here, it's not just a statement. Look, the summit hasn't even taken place yet. They jumped 2 days ahead and said what they were supposed to say there. On the 25th after, on the 21st after. Conclusion after lunch after the meeting. Do you understand? They went ahead and said, this is a response to Putin. We will continue Europe with Ukraine. But this confirms that Trump will not give more than that. That's what we need to prepare for. And Europe will give. The question is, what and when? Because when they tell us, we will give, thank you, friends. Spain, Italy. 40 billion were blocked to appease Hungary. Then we see that. And where's the story with this? The story with Kaczynski is unfolding. Orban. Great, the protests continue. This suits us. But is that enough? Friends, weapons are needed now. Ukrainian soldiers are on the battlefield. Already. They can't shoot Russian occupiers with promises. Ukraine needs specifics. Next. Russia attacked the railway infrastructure in the Dnipropetrovsk region for the second time in a day, I told you. 4 injured. Sorry, I misspoke. Not 4 times, but the second time. 4 injured. Well, also, Zelensky agreed to Trump's proposal to stop strikes on Russia's energy sector. For us, just so you understand, this is not a beneficial situation. Plus, Putin is striking now. Again, how long will this pause of ours last? A Bloomberg interlocutor says that Zelensky supported the proposal to stop strikes on Russian energy facilities during a conversation with Trump. The important story here is that the agency says the US and Ukraine agreed to work on expanding the ceasefire regime. Trump called the conversation with Zelensky very good, adding that a significant part of the conversation was based on his conversation yesterday with the head of the Kremlin. Well, and we've already heard this with you. That's not all. I want to add a little more information for you. From what we have, it's clear that right now, Russia's strikes on Ukraine are one of the most important things because Russia shows repeatedly, demonstrates precisely the negative side. In other words, they are doing nothing for these negotiations. But we don't see Trump putting pressure on them. Trump is trying to cater to his previous promises, not to Ukraine, not to democracy, not to freedom, and not to pressure Putin. Well, he says, you have 2 requests, here, there, back and forth. But again, between weapons and intelligence, well, we also have now intelligence. Not only what they provided, we were also working during this time. There were some alternative sources. Well, and the cost is completely different. But I won't argue. We don't look a gift horse in the mouth right now. Without their data, we wouldn't be able to see where the ballistic missiles are flying at all, where to intercept, what to do. That's true. What does Levitt say? Is she the press secretary? Zelensky asked once again to protect civilians with missile systems. Patriot and President Trump agreed to revisit this issue. What I told you, he didn't give the go-ahead to provide missiles. Agreed to revisit the issue. Also, Suspilin reports citing the office of the President of Ukraine. During the phone conversation, the presidents agreed on the details of the ceasefire in the sky, at sea, as well as how to achieve silence on the front. Zelensky informed Trump about the situation on the battlefield and raised the issue of releasing prisoners. In turn, Trump shared what was discussed with Putin. Well, yes, we also had a conversation there for an hour, maybe even a little more. And here's the most interesting part. Trump informed, says the White House, Zelensky that they are ready to provide assistance in management with electric power stations in Ukraine. There is also a statement. Trump told Zelensky that American ownership of power plants in Ukraine would be the best protection for this infrastructure. The White House. You see, here's the question. That the energy systems were stolen by oligarchs. Like, they stole them, we raised the issue, these oligarchs were removed, Trump gave them to the Americans. They will pay taxes, they won't. So, they won't steal, they won't take it to offshore. Okay. Are we talking about nuclear plants that are state-owned? Everyone doesn't explain. Or only about the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant? Trump's statement. Ambiguous, both management and ownership. There is a difference. On average, our nuclear plant costs 10 to 15 billion. So you understand that the issue is around 100 billion. That's serious money, even for Trump. And it's not just that it should matter to Trump, but to the states. and plus Ukraine. Potentially, Ukraine, France are among the nuclear energy leaders in Europe. Our Zaporizhzhia plant is the largest in Europe. There is no bigger one. And here's the question. Will Trump take management for Russia? So this is also a big question. Again, if Trump, they say that we will continue intelligence sharing and take away your nuclear plant. Well, supposedly super news. But in this super news, we don't give weapons and will take the nuclear plant for ourselves. Well, okay, the question. Again, they say, priorities have changed, now nuclear, where to, then we'll talk about minerals. Okay, well, if you're taking the nuclear plants, then the question of minerals is off the table. There are a lot of questions here that are not being explained to us right now. I will try to find out the inside information, try to get additional details. But it will take a little time, because the data they provided, I'll be honest, is only 5 to 10% of what was discussed. That's the feeling I get from previous conversations. Well, Trump in the White House said that he intends to end the war in Ukraine once and for all. Just like that. Specifically, clearly. However, I don't remember this happening in Afghanistan. I don't remember this happening in Syria. I don't remember this happening in other situations where Trump tried to resolve these issues, these stories. Well, we believe that we will succeed, and we believe that Trump will provide the best conditions for Ukraine. And Trump will truly be able to guarantee this, not only during his term in office, but for eternity. Meanwhile, Trump's friend, Ms. Meloni, says that expanding the scope of NATO's Article 5 will allow the alliance to understand whether Putin is bluffing. Meloni says, I have consistently defended my position. As for the ineffective proposals of other countries, as well as Italy's initiative to extend the scope of NATO's Article 5 to Ukraine, this is not only the most logical and effective option, but also a way to test Putin's bluff. If Russia does not intend to attack neighboring states again, it is unclear why it should oppose such guarantees. And smart Meloni set the right tone and posed the right question. And this is actually very honest. And this is how Meloni is currently helping Ukraine. She has sympathy for Ukrainians, she truly has this inner drive, she is close to Trump. Let's put this on the table. Trump and Meloni explained everything perfectly. Let's ask Meloni to talk to Trump without us. And with Macron and J defense. Okay, we'll annoy him. Well, okay, we'll disappear for a bit. Let him relax. But Meloni can propose. This is the right political decision. And Meloni is right. Well, if you're not going to attack, then fine, we defend. But if you are going to, then what's the point? Agreements? You're just buying time and want, like a threat, to attack again and destroy everything. When again, everyone will be asleep. Well, that's how all monsters operate. This is the first thing I wanted to discuss with you politically. Meloni is right. Our politicians need to take this into account. Not from myself, from her. We say that Europe should be involved in the negotiations. Here you go, the Russian Empire called, saying, take it, work with it. Italian politicians often provide wise, cunning, and intelligent solutions. Why not? Why can't we work with this? But, let's talk to her, you don't even need to go to Rome. A phone call will suffice for this. Start this track. Maybe we don't need Istanbul or Jeddah, maybe we need to meet in Rome. The Eternal City, this city knows both how to win and how to establish peace. And not Minsk, we are being offered this. We can hold negotiations, and Jeddah conduct meetings. By the way, now the Russians have launched propaganda, look at what the Ukrainians have done here, broken roofs. And the Russians are writing that the Ukrainians here are shameless. Come, take a look at the Ukrainian Donbass, see Kherson, Kharkiv, and Kiev regions. Look, You say it's a bluff. That Bucha was fake for you. But let you also taste the war, because it's too comfortable to feel it in front of the TV. That's the first political point. The second thing I wanted to say, Zelensky should invite Trump here and do it publicly. Trump is brash and strong. Yes, he might get angry. Yes, he might slam the table, but he won't have a choice not to come. Donald, come over. Come here and see everything, and you'll understand what Putin is like. And bring Pence along. Well, Musk, leave him be. He wrote that he's tired of DOJ. This DOJ is like his ministry. He says he's tired, Captain. Well, okay, Musk is tired. Stay home. Stay, let someone else be in charge at the White House. But take the wolf. Kellogg has already been there. Everything's fine with him. You believe that Putin won't shoot at you while you're there. Come, take a look. Just so that on an emotional, human level you understand what it's all about. We remember the frivolous statements that you need to look Putin in the eyes, as Macron said. Scholz didn't want to send anything here except towels. Yes, he accepted Ukrainians who were forced to leave, true, but when it comes to weapons, Scholz needed to be persuaded. But when they arrived, went to Bucha, saw what was happening in Kiev, they immediately started helping dozens, hundreds of times more. In the same way, Trump needs to be spoken to over the phone, as if we've already been forgiven for the scandals in the White House. Well, we say, we forgive you. We had guests over. The chickens, it's true, weren't eaten, but that's okay, we don't mind, we'll cook for you here. By the way, we can make chicken Kiev, it will be very tasty. Or some farm-raised chicken, I don't know, maybe Klopotenko will cook it, or Dima Borisov. Well, there are great global-level chefs who can make a super dish. So, it will be great. Come here, but it's important to get him involved. We've reached some progress. Do you want a nuclear plant? Great. Zaporizhzhia 1? It's currently in Russia. It's better for it to be with Trump and the Americans than in Russia, 100%. Trim, indeed, these political moments to prevent Russian funds from boosting OPZZH. But okay, let's talk, let's think. Maybe this will really be an alternative. Nuclear safety. Also, indeed, give a couple of nuclear missiles for this. It would be absolutely splendid. Maybe, let's think, we really need to broaden our horizons. I know there were brainstorming sessions about this in the office, about nuclear options. Okay, it's underway. It's better to take it away from the Russians. Great. We can give the mines of Donetsk. Trump help us take back Donetsk. We give all the ports of Crimea to the Americans in advance. And the development of the sea shelf. Gas. You love gas. Let's go. By the way, there is more there than what Russia can currently provide to Europe and Ukraine. It's great there. Ukraine could stop buying gas altogether. We will bathe you. You see, now we need to expand this story. But if he goes into dialogue with us, we're already, friends, we're already calling each other. Everything's fine. Come over. It's important to invite him. He won't be able to refuse. And if he refuses, he'll look weak. So what kind of peace did you want if you didn't do this? He'll say, well, I'll make peace and then come over. We say, well, you did change your strategy. First digging, then agreements. Now you say, agreements first, then digging. We say, okay, come over, maybe this way peace will come faster. You'll bring it closer. Or, even more, make it more just. And you'll understand who Putin really is. Friends, that's all the information I wanted to share with you. Please write your opinion regarding these negotiations. You see, it's going hard. We see that not all the information is known to us. Whether this story will continue, we see that Trump still wants to pressure both us and, just a little, Russia. Well, in one thing he didn't listen. Some of our top-ranking officials, let's say, in the top 5, said that their opinion is that still. April, June, a very high, to very high, very high, very high, a very high probability of stopping the war. So, there. is a feeling among the top leadership, those who make decisions. It's not the president, not this, but it's definitely the top 5. They say there is. After today's conversation and the first and second videos, do you feel inside that it will stop? Or not? Don't confuse it now with hope, whether you want it to stop or not. No. Is there a feeling that the pieces are coming together in such a way that it will stop? This atom, intelligence data, a new meaning in life. What do you think? Internal. Just share what you think. And share more. Share your money. For our armed forces. 3rd Assault, 9 bombers, 1 night vision. We are buying for the Kharkiv region. The guys are doing very serious work. Support is needed. This is how much we have left. 1,163,000 was in a bank. Let's just finish it, close it, and make the payment immediately. Subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones.